Football Live is not just number 1 versus number 3 Saturday night on ABC. It is also the meeting of two of the most successful programs in all of college football. And Coley Harvey joins us now to talk some Florida State University football. We saw that the line is Alabama favored by 7, at least the latest one. Not a huge surprise there. But how are the Noles using the underdog tag as motivation headed into this game, Coley?
Yeah, well, Jen, they're really trying to stay away from that particular word. In fact, they think that they're right there on equal footing with Alabama. Granted, I know outside of these walls around me, I'm actually just underneath Doak Campbell Stadium. Outside of these walls, they're really thinking that that this is not possible for Florida State to win. But these guys here do. You mentioned the greatness going into this ball game. There's a great legend right there, Bobby Bowden, over my shoulder, and he's pointing the way towards Atlanta. The Seminoles do believe they can stay right there with Alabama and that they can make this a really fun game and a game that they can win and carry on throughout the rest of their season.
And Florida State should feel that way. We're not talking about a team that hasn't won in a long time. This is Florida State. They have a national championship in recent years. So, I mean, this is a team that could absolutely not just stay with, but beat Alabama. This Alabama team we're looking at, we're not talking about the quarterback position like we have been the past 3 or 4 years when it comes to Alabama. They lost a lot of leadership on the defensive side of the football. And if Florida State can find a way to protect Francois, their quarterback, who's probably one of the toughest kids I've seen play last season because he got his head knocked off every single game, if they can protect him and give him a chance to make plays, Florida State can absolutely win this game.
There's 2 things that Florida State has to do. They absolutely, under no circumstance, can turn the football over because those turnovers, not only do they lead the points for the offense, in many cases against Alabama, that defense, they took it the distance. They have to also dominate in field position and time of possession. Alabama does a really good job when it comes to special teams as well. In a lot of cases, you'll see starters for Alabama on some of their special teams units. So I think they have to be good in the trenches as well, but I think it comes down to whether or not they can win field position and special teams, and also they absolutely can't turn the football over and give themselves opportunities on the offensive side of the field.
All right, historically, however, Saban is fantastic against his former assistants. 10-0, I believe, is the number that's attached to that. What is it about Jimbo Fisher, Coley, that makes it so he's the guy that could break through?
Oh, well, Jimbo believes that the reason why he can break through is the fact that he's got a group here right now at Florida State that feels as if it can kind of compete with anybody, as we were just mentioning. They're coming off of that championship a couple of years ago in 2013. They still have a couple of players who were around for part of that. They've been playing in these types of big games before. You talk about 2015 from with the Oklahoma State opener in Dallas, last year against Ole Miss there in Orlando. So the fact that they've been in these types of games, granted, nothing of this magnitude. This is something different than anybody's ever seen in college football, but still playing in these games, he feels like that experience is going to help pay off. But I will kind of caution him. You've got not only Nick Saban, who knows him quite well and knows what he can do as a play caller, but you also have Jeremy Pruitt over there who at Alabama, who knows what Florida State can be up to. So that's going to be a double challenge there for the Seminoles.
Well, we've heard the narrative 100 times. Oh, well, Nick Saban is 10-0 against his protégés. Yeah, but name me a single one of those 10 victories in which the team that he's playing against has equal parts. Because Colorado State, when Jim McElwain was there, Florida the last couple of years with no quarterback. I mean, we've seen him play against, coach against teams that are led by his former assistants, but none of them came even close when it came to the personnel. Florida State, however, does have personnel that can match up with and in some cases excel past Alabama. So finally, one of his assistants, former assistants, has a fighting chance. So I'm curious to see how Jimbo Fisher game plans, because he certainly has the Jimmies and the Joes to go out there in Atlanta and hold his own, if not beat Alabama, if Alabama doesn't bring their A game.
And who has he not been good against? I mean, Saban's good against everybody. Alabama's been good against everybody. So every single season, we start talking about, okay, who can challenge Alabama this season in the SEC? He's been really good against everybody, and that is why he is considered one of the greatest coaches of all time. And so the assistant coach thing, I agree with you, Greg. It's not like the assistant coaches were rolling into town with these high-powered teams at all times.
Right.
So he should have had success against these guys. It'll be interesting to see Saturday night. When I watch this Florida State team, you know that athletically they can match up with anybody in the entire country. They have to just do those things that Greg talked about, have to protect Francois and stay healthy and get up. I think if in the past, at least few years, when we talk about Alabama team, their defense has been off the charts. This is the first season that when you talk to Coach Saban, there's a little bit of worry. And he's a coach, and he's always going to be that way. But when coaches like Saban start worried about leadership, which you always hear these guys talk about, then there's something that there is a real concern. The athleticism is there. Leadership, that angry attitude that Alabama always has, was a concern in the spring, and we'll see if they fixed it.
We know that Saban will be prepared. He's incredibly methodical in his preparation. But, guys, if this game can actually live up to the hype that has been attached to it, I've already seen people who are talking about a potential rematch in the college football playoff between Alabama and Florida State, and how fantastic that would be if both teams are representing their respective conferences. All right, Coley, thank you so much for joining us with the Inside Scoop at FSU. We will follow you all season long here on college football. Coming up, All Access with PJ Fleck at Minnesota. Will his unconventional tactics translate to wins on the field? That's next. Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern on